out west with the Los Angeles Clippers, who are struggling right now. The Los Angeles Clippers are 1-5 um in their last 6 games since acquiring Russell Westbrook, and they're currently sitting eighth right now in the Western Conference. So I'm gonna ask you some, what's wrong with the Los Angeles Clippers?
Well, to start things off, the Los Angeles Clippers could be centered around defense. In my prediction from past games that I've seen, I feel like this team just hasn't played like the defense that we're used to them seeing. They've given up a lot of points, starting off with the Sacramento game that went over like to what 173 points given up. Then it led on to what was the game after that, to the Denver Nuggets game, which went on to overtime again. They played two overtime games where they could have easily just set the tone in the fourth quarter and then got out there smooth. Then they lost to the Timberwolves. Another game that they gave up. And then you seen the Warriors game that just passed as well. A relatively easy game. Then out of nowhere, the Warriors just went on a scoring spurt, and then they just had no answer for it as well. And even last night, when you look at it, they could have easily just lost because they gave up 51 points in the third quarter to the Memphis Grizzlies without John Morant, Steven Adams, Dylan Brooks, and Brandon Clark, who just tore his Achilles that's out for the season. So it's a little bit alarming. I feel like defense is just their main priority because I feel like you don't have to worry about offense when you have a guys like Kawhi Leonard and as well as Paul George. But I just feel like just the defenses thing just has to be addressed like ASAP because going into the playoffs, defense is a major key. So they have to hone in on their defense. Tyronn Lue has to sit these guys down, figure out the adjustments that they want to do because they could have easily went on what they could have lost 6 in a row, 7 in a row to the Grizzlies, and they luckily they pulled out a stellar performance in the fourth quarter. Shout out to Kawhi Leonard and Paul George for that. But in reality, we're looking at this team as their defense is suspect right now, so that has to be addressed mostly.
Right, right, right. We can definitely talk about the defense, but before we get into that, I'm just really just disgusted with the Los Angeles Clippers. It's year four into the Kawhi Leonard and Paul George experiment, and they have nothing to show for it. This team, has spent all this money to get all these good role players and the two stars and all that. When if we really rewind the clock, they had Shea Gilgis Alexander right there with Kawhi Leonard. Would looking at it now, would that have not been probably a better pairing? He's been more durable than Paul George, but Kawhi Leonard wanted a true co-star, and he asked for Paul George, and they just have nothing to show for it now. Yes, they went to a Western Conference Finals. What was it? 2 years ago. Um, but they didn't reach the final, so it doesn't really mean anything. So I feel like this franchise could end up just losing both players. You spent all this money and you're gonna have nothing to show for it. So the Clippers just have to get it together, and they really have to take a hard look in the mirror this off season and just really figure out what they're gonna do. Because speaking of this season, I don't think they're gonna do anything in the playoffs. The team is just too shaky. They just seem like they're not happy to play with each other. Like Seb, you know what it feels like to just play with people you enjoy playing with. When do we see Kawhi Leonard and Paul George like doing like a chest bump or like or even having their own handshake? I just don't see anything. Like,
Yeah, I feel like that as well. Like just the team chemistry is it's like this predominantly basketball. But then again, off the court, everybody say that Kawhi Leonard's a cool dude. Like they're cool
no,
with each
no,
other.
no.
But I don't feel like they're like cheering each other on. Like how you explain it as. So I get what you're saying.
Not yet, no, and definitely I've seen them, hanging out off the court, but it's like on the court, just like you said, you're supposed to be empowering like your teammates. And I understand that Kawhi Leonard is not a vocal leader, but is it now not the time to try to change things up? You have not been successful since Toronto. Like this experiment just has not worked out. So, but just speaking, like I said about this season and right now, then right now at the A seed, they're not a good defensive team, and that's why we just seen the second highest most scoring game in NBA history. That's not necessarily a good thing. I don't know if they think that's a good accolade. You lost the game. They're giving up all these points to all these teams. They're not able to stop anybody. It's weird because you would think that you have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. The reason we thought it was a good pairing because they're two-way wings when they're now just one-way wings, and that's just not good. It's just not gonna do anything. So, and you see, I really haven't said anything about Russell Westbrook. He's we just spoke about this off camera. We all know what Russell Westbrook is. He is better off the bench, as we just seen with the Los Angeles Lakers when he was in contention to win Sixth Man of the Year. It was looking like he was the favorite. He's better playing that role. I don't know why Ty Lue was starting him when they were starting Terrence Mann before him, and the team was actually playing a lot better. Now you're starting Westbrook. He can't shoot. He's very high in turnovers. It just doesn't make sense with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And I know Paul George advocated for this signing, but it's like, did I said, but yeah, Paul George advocated for this signing, but it's like, did Kawhi Leonard sign off on this? Because I haven't seen him smile at Russell Westbrook one time. I don't know what's going on with the Los Angeles Clippers. I'm disgusted, and I want to see what they do after this season. They won't, because they will not make the NBA Finals this season. I could put any amount of money on that.
True say, true say.